Hello?
How you doing, Neph?
Hi there.
Let me pull over here. Can you hear me?
I do.
All right, cool. This is Shelly Summers. Okay, I'm over. Hey, beautiful moon out today. Day. Anyways, I'm calling up because I'm wondering, would you be up to a quick debate on dark matter, or does it just have to be on the flood stuff?
Well, I'm not interested in specializing a debate on, one particular thing in science. I'm interested in debating somebody on the general topic of creation versus evolution in general, because there's just too much. There's so much to go into, and there's so many claims made by evolutionists that I would like to address, in a debate. And
okay, well, what branch of science to you then does not constitute evolution? I mean, you put. I'm just trying to find a safer place to pull over. You put biology, you put cosmology, you put pretty much every different branch of science underneath the heading of evolution. Is there any branch that you don't put underneath the heading of evolution?
Well, I think the question is almost flawed in a way, because science, to me, in my mind, is the study of God's creation. So I don't see that science. I don't see it as related to evolution at all. I see evolution as a paradigm based upon a materialism religion. I don't see the science as in any way evolution in any way, or provides any evidence of evolution.
Evolution in a derogatory fashion.
Well, you have to define evolution. What do you call evolution? If you say that one kind of creature created another, I say that would be evolution, but there's zero evidence that it's even possible, much less ever happen.
I think I know where she's coming from on this. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I think I know where they are coming from on this. Okay, I think I know where they're coming from on this, and that is when we creationists, when I say we creationists talk about evolution, we have to be cautious. I remember when I first got into the evolution creation debate, I had to be very, very careful about how I talked and spoke about evolution, because evolution, by the atheist evolutionist standards, is not how did the Big Bang happen or first life on Earth. I mean, I took quite a beating when I first got into the whole conversation, because they define evolution as, okay, a single cell's on the Earth. We don't know how it got here, nor do we care. That's something completely different. It's a completely different science. We just want to be, how did it get to the diversity of what it is today? That's their definition of evolution. Now, creationists from the standpoint go, okay, well, eventually you're going to have to tackle, if you believe that everything got here via natural processes, and you don't think that God put a cell on the Earth and then said, okay, have at it, let it go, and walked away from it, eventually you're going to have to go back and approach the subject of, how did life first get here on Earth? How did the singularity first appear? Yeah,
it was a chemical process. Dr. Sutherland's report from the University of Manchester found out how that he figured out through natural processes half of the RNA molecule was formed.
No.
The Journal of Cosmology.
They've made those claims, but believe me, they have not figured out how life first arose on the Earth. They talk about abiogenesis, they talk about this and that, but believe me, they do not have a clue yet how this complex cell first appeared on Earth. They don't know how those chemicals came together and actually created such a complex organism. The U and G of the RNA molecule, Dr. Sutherland, if I'm unfortunately not in the chat right now. Like I said, I'm driving. I pulled over right now to be technical. But if you, my YouTube name is Shelly Summers, send me an email. I will gladly send you a link with, or you could just Google Dr. Sutherland, University, Manchester. And there was an article written in Nature. You can find it on Wired Science and Science Daily. And it shows how half of the RNA molecule, the ribonucleotide acid, was formed. They don't know how the other half was made, nor do they know about original sin. I don't know if you gentlemen know that term. Hello? Yeah. I'm still here.
What was the term again?
It's called original sin. Why some molecules are left-handed and some are right-handed, I believe it is. It's spelled S-Y-N instead of S-I-N.
Yeah.
I think
Charity.
they're just being goofy.
Yeah. Well, I would like to address that for a second. I'll point out that what you're referring to is an imaginative scenario about how it could have happened that has no physical evidence, for one thing. Secondly, it's been recently published in the Journal of Cosmology. Now, this is a secular publication, okay, by of the Center for Astrophysics, Harvard, Smithsonian, Cambridge, Massachusetts. This is January 30th, 2010. They state, 1.1, life did not begin on Earth when religion masquerades as science. Point 2, life could not have begun on Earth. They state, the problems with Earth-centered abiogenesis have been detailed by numerous scientists, some of them which framed astronomer Fred Hoyle and Nobel laureates Svante Arrhenius, Francis Crick, etc., blah, blah. They say the problem with Earth-centered abiogenesis can be summed up as follows. A, complex life was present on the Earth almost from the beginning. B, statistically, there was not enough time to create complex self-replicating organism. C, DNA and complex organic molecules would have been destroyed by the environment of the early Earth, something I've been saying in my videos for a long time. Now the secular people are acknowledging it. D, all of the essential ingredients for creating life on Earth are missing. And E, there is no evidence that life has been or can be produced from non-life on this planet. And then they go on to point 3, statistics and complexity, not enough time for life to have formed on the Earth. 4, statistics and complexity, proto-organisms could not have randomly been created on the Earth. So here you've got a peer-reviewed journal, secular journal, that is, the people that write these papers are evolutionists, and they're stating something that contradicts what you're saying.
That's why you have to define what an evolutionist is, Nehp. You're combining cosmology with biology. Evolution is simply biology. Dr. Sutherland's report...
if they're evolutionists or not. This is from a secular journal. This is from a university-published journal. So what I'm saying is, the point I'm trying to make is that scientists, which are not creationists specifically,
but you're projecting,
are publishing works.
You're projecting what your thought process is on that paper. Dr. Sutherland's report brought into it.
They state specifically life couldn't have formed on the Earth. This is their conclusion, okay? And they
that's one scientist's conclusion. There have been plenty of other scientists that backed up Dr. Sutherland.
Right. So my point is, though, that you're pointing to an imaginative scenario that somebody can create on a chalkboard and saying, look, that's how it happened. But is that science to say that it happened without physical evidence? You see, if science deals with the observable, testable, and repeatable, doesn't it? That's the scientific method. We don't just say, I can imagine it happened, therefore it did, and that's science. You see? Okay. So what I'm saying is, if somebody can write a paper and explain that this is how this occurred, this happened, and how is that science if it's not supported by physical evidence? You see?
Right. One scientist says one thing, another scientist says something else. But you're saying that cosmologists are saying this about biology. If they're not biologists, then it's little more than a guess. I mean, it's like our call that we're having right now. We're both laymen.
Now you're picking and choosing, really.
We're both laymen,
now you're picking
right?
And choosing. Well, Richard Dawkins says almost the same. No, Richard Dawkins says almost the same thing. He's not a biologist either. He's a zoologist. He says he looks at things.
I could care less about Dawkins. I've never read Dawkins.
They appeared to be designed. He says that he believes that it's likely that life could have come from another planet. Okay, he's agreeing with the panspermia idea, which is what these cosmologists are. He's a zoologist. He's not a biologist.
Okay, well, how do you explain the meteorites that are in outer space that we've observed that have the building blocks of life and water on them? I'm not talking about the moon around
Hold on, we're going to go. Hold on.
How do you get from amino acids to a protein?
We're going to go a whole different direction here. Hold on, please let me bring this back to the original question. Because we're going to go a whole different direction here. your talk about Sutherland. Okay, I just looked up the article. I was actually reading through it. And let me just kind of fill everybody and make sure I've got the right the right thing here. Researchers have been able to show
and I'll be the first
how
one
RNA...
it doesn't answer all the questions. Right now, up front, I'm just saying that. All right.
Yeah, okay. Researchers have been able to show how RNA's component molecules called ribonucleotides could assemble into RNA. There are many attempts to synthesize these ribonucleotides have failed, no matter how they combine the ingredient, a sugar, a phosphate, and one of 4 different nitrogenous molecules, or nucleobases. Ribonucleotides just wouldn't form. Now, Sutherland's team took a different approach than what Harvard Molecular by changing the way we mix the ingredients together, we managed to make ribonucleotides, said Sutherland. Okay, now...
half of the ribonucleotide. It's only half of it.
Was this done in the laboratory? Was this done in the laboratory?
Hold on. Let me continue with this thought. Okay, so, first of all, from a creationist standpoint, of course, as with everything, we're going to tear it apart and look at it in a little different light than what other people might.
Obviously.
Obviously. So first of all, there is no explanation as to how a sugar, how a phosphate, or how any of the 4 different nitrogenous molecules appeared on Earth, or how they were formed in and by themselves, but we'll ignore that fact and just move on and default back to the fact that...
came easily from the meteorites and early formation of the universe, but okay.
Yeah, they could have easily come from hydrogen and helium. We could get sugars from hydrogen and helium because that's really all that was supposedly existent when the first singularity expanded and produced the
and the first, okay, well, if you want to say where did all the different types of material, is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm saying, how do you get a sugar from hydrogen and helium?
The hydrogen and helium, when a star goes supernova, in the last moments of its life, it's pressing in, and that's how it makes anything higher than iron.
A star that goes supernova.
Before a star goes supernova, it can't make anything higher than iron. Once a star starts making iron, then the star dies because the iron absorbs the energy. It can't form anything thicker until it goes nova, because when it goes nova, it's pressing in which fuses higher than iron.
Okay, so in other words, what we have to do to get this to work is I have to go back in time.
I got to go. The police just pulled over to see if I'm okay. I'm sorry about this. But,
no, that's okay. That's okay. It's a good question, and I would love to talk to you more about this.
All right.
The Sutherland article is interesting, but
I gotta go.
Go ahead, bye. Talk to you later. To all of you listening, the Sutherland article is interesting. I'm going to give it that. But it once again works under the premise of a million assumptions leading up to this point.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
What they did is they took these ingredients that were supposedly just here, they think, when the early Earth was around, and they went ahead and they combined them in a little different way than what had been originally done. And they mixed these molecules in water. They heated the solution. Then they allowed it to evaporate, leaving behind a residue of hybrid, half-sugar, half-nucleobase molecules. And then to this residue, they again added water. They heated it. They allowed it to evaporate. And then they irradiated it. Okay, well, at each stage of the cycle, they say that the molecules became more and more complex. And at the final stage, they added phosphate. Remarkably, it transformed into this ribonucleotide. So in other words, if things were precisely as they needed to be in early Earth, and all of these things did actually exist on early Earth, like sugars and whatever else they say needed to be done here, and if it actually assembled itself in just the right way, we could actually come up with a ribonucleotide, which, by the way, is still not RNA. It's still not everything you need to make life. But it is what it is. So there's still a lot of assumptions we have to make, and actually, in order to get this to work. Did they expose it to ultraviolet light? Because that's what it would have been exposed to out in early Earth.
Oxygen.
There's so much more about this I'd have to read up on.
Yeah.